Right, where were we? Welcome back to another Man versus Neo Geo. Yes, it's been a while since my last episode, but let's put that to right and start again with another 5 random titles from my Neo Geo collection. Now, the collection, of course, is still ongoing. I haven't finished it as yet, but of course, while I'm doing so, I can show you the games that I've got so far. So I've got another 5 random titles to show you, and then, of course, at the end, I've got some little trinket and another nice little addition to the Neo Geo collection I'm going to show you. So let's get on with the 5 games. Now, this episode, I've got a heavy hitter. Now, there are probably about 4 heavy hitters within the collection that are quite pricey. Now, I did start well, and my saying in collecting a full set is always go for the heavy hitters first, because then you ain't got to worry about it towards the end of the collection. Now, I did start quite well, and I got 2 of them at least, which I'm going to show one of them today. But there are probably 1 or 2 I've still got to get, so I'll just worry about that towards the end of the collection, as you do. So, first game is the heavy hitter. Now, this one I did originally own on an MVS copy many moons ago when I did have an MVS set, which I really regret getting rid of, unfortunately, but that's just the way it goes. But I've got it on its original source, and that is, of course, Ironclad Brickinger. Now, as I say, this is not a cheap title. It's, of course, a horizontal shooter. Now, this came out in 1996. And the company was Cyrus who made this. I think this is the company that made Shock Troopers, I think, if I'm correct in saying. But yeah, nice little horizontal shooter. Now, this is like a kind of an R-type / Darius, to me, kind of mixture. Because you get 3 ships to choose from, of course, all different styles, all different weaknesses and things like that, of course. 6 weapons to choose from for the ships. You also get like a mapping system like the Darius, where you can choose your route whichever way you want to go. One route is the hardest, and it goes down from the hardest down to the easiest. So obviously the hardest will probably take you longer to get to the end boss than it would do, of course, with the shorter route. But regardless, not a bad little title. Not the best horizontal shooter in the actual Neo Geo collection as for a shooter, but still a great little title. Now, of course, with the mapping system, you do get 5 different endings, which is in one sense a good thing, because you got replayability on this game, which is a good thing, to be fair, because obviously most shooters, you don't get that option. You just go through it and you just got 3 different difficulties. With this, at least, you've got the mapping system, and it gives you a variety of levels, and of course the 5 different endings for you to go through. So kind of money well spent there in a sense, to be fair. So well happy I've got it. Definitely one, as I say, that was needed to add it to the collection early, because, as I say, with these kind of games, especially the heavy hitters, you tend to, if you don't buy them early, or when you see them when you first get them, you know yourself, game prices rise. So I'm going to get this when I have to come to collecting the last couple of games that I need of the heavy hitters for the Neo Geo CD. If I'd have collected them probably a year ago, I'd have probably saved a bit of money. By the time I go for these, they'll probably be even higher in price. So it's just the way gaming goes, basically, unfortunately. But as I say, I didn't get this for the best price in the world, believe me, this was expensive, but I'm glad I got it when I did, because it has gone up in price since, unfortunately. But very happy to have this one. So there is the first one, and that is Ironclad Brickinger. Pop that back in its case. This is the only one I've got in a case, of course, because, yeah, I want to keep this one as mint as possible. There we go. Back in its case. Right, game number 2. Now, game number 2 is a side-scrolling beat-em-up. And this one came out in 1991. And it is, of course, Robo Army. And this one is, realistically, it has gone up in price immensely over the last few years, to be fair. This one is like a side-scrolling action game. It's set in the future in like Neo, I think, what is it? Neo Detroit. And you've got like a mad scientist who basically has built an army of robots, but is embedded human brains into their head, into the robots. So basically they can take over the city and probably the world. But then you've got these 2 cyber police. They're like police officers with robotic arms. And I can't think of the names. I think Maximus and Rocky, I think. And basically what you're doing is you're going through the stages. I think there's about 5 stages on this. And it's just a typical, you know, beat 'em up scenario, like a final fight. You can pick stuff up, throw stuff at enemies. You can power yourself up and give yourself like more power, but it doesn't last, because obviously once you use it, then you've got to build it up again. You can also transform into a car, which is quite cool, and you can roll around, jump in the car and things like that. But it don't last very long, but it makes you invincible for the time that you're in the car. And it just, all around, it's quite good. Graphically quite good. Story's quite good, to be fair. And it's graphically really, really quite good as well. I really have enjoyed playing this game. Not, I wouldn't say it's overly difficult. It's like most side-scrolling beat-em-ups, but yeah, definitely one of my favourites on the Neo Geo CD. And well, happy to have that one. But as I say, that is not going down in price, unfortunately. But very happy to own that one. And that is, of course, Robo Army. Right, the next one. It took me a while to get this one. And this varies in price, to be fair. But I've never played it until, of course, I've got the game. And that is, of course, Super Spy. This came out in 1990. And this is like a first-person action game. And basically, it reminds me of Operation Wolf. But technically, instead of just shooting a gun, you shoot guns and you punch them, and you can kill them with knives. But it's a very cheesy spy action game where technically you've got to beat the terrorists. And it's like, to me, a corridor simulator where you're just literally going down corridors, taking on enemies, finding rooms, and then you go in and then you talk to the people. They give you upgrades, they give you knives, they give you guns. You do get an Uzi, which lasts about 2 seconds. Now, the thing is with the guns, I think the guns, they don't last very long, so the ammo is very, very limited, which makes it a little bit tough. So most of the time, you're just punching and kicking, to be fair. But the initial goal is to disarm 10 bombs before, obviously, they go off. And I think that's the premise of the game. But as I say, the game itself isn't amazing. In the time it come out, I mean, graphically it's great, but it's very simplistic, very cheesy game. But the only thing that really probably makes this a good game is the boss fights. The boss fights are very, very good. I do like the boss fights within this game. But as I say, overall, it's not a bad game, but it's not a very good game, and that. But still, very happy to have it. Still worthy of a couple of hours of your time, but that'd be about it, to be fair. But overall, it's all right for what it is. But that is game number 3, and that is Super Spy. Okay, so the next game I've got for you is a side-scrolling action platforming game. Now, this is SNK's one of their first titles, apparently, they ever made. And this is, of course, Cyberlip. Now, this originally came out in 1990 for the MVS and the AES, and then it took them 5 years to release it on the Neo Geo CD, which is bizarre. Can't understand that, but regardless, here it is. And this is, as I say, not a bad side-scrolling action platform game. Very Contra-esque, of course. Great weapon selection, good gameplay. It really is for the time. You do have like a small opportunity for branching paths through the level, so it does give you that little bit of variety. Now, the only drawback about this game, which does give the enemies the advantage over you and makes this game really quite difficult, is you cannot shoot diagonally and you can't shoot down, which is really bizarre, and it does not give you any advantages because of that at all. But if it weren't for that, this would be a far better game, to be fair. But because of that, it makes it extremely difficult. But overall, still a great game. It has an absolutely bizarre ending, if you haven't seen it on YouTube or anything like that. But it is really, really weird. But still, a fantastic little title. Another one that's quite sought after and quite hard to find nowadays. Really happy to have it anyway. But that is, of course, Cyberlip. Well, happy to have it. Really, really am. There you go. Cyberlip. There you go. Okay, so the final game in my selection for this episode is, of course, going to be a fighter. Now, there are plenty of one-on-one beat-em-ups on, of course, the Neo Geo and the Neo Geo CD. And this one is definitely up there, one of my favourites. And that is, of course, Ninja Masters. Now, Ninja Master, it came out in 1996. And this is a one-on-one fighter where technically you have 12 characters to choose from, which are all ninja-based, may I add, hence the name Ninja Masters. And you choose from one. Every character has an intertwining story, which leads to the final boss, which I'm now going to read his name, which is Narigana Oda. You have to get to him, of course. Now, this game is colourful, simplistic music. It's not got the best soundtrack, but it's very appropriate for the game because it's set in feudal Japan, of course. So the game and the music quite fit together. Very colourful graphics, very fluid gameplay, great combo system, a very easy combo system to keep up with, to be fair. And you've also got like weapons you can withdraw anytime, which changes your fighting style completely. So it's like a completely different fighting game with your weapons. It's got that element of Samurai Showdown, of course, in there. You can also disarm your enemy, or that you can be disarmed and your weapon goes to the floor, so you got to pick it up. You do have a variety of different weapons with each character, of course, chains and swords and knives and throwing stars. There's just endless amounts of weapons to choose from within the characters of themselves. But overall, it's not a bad game. I really, really do like this game. As I say, one of my favourite fighters on the Neo Geo CD, and you know there's plenty of them. But very happy to own this one. As I say, this one is just going up in price as per usual, as most Neo Geo games are nowadays. But really happy to have this one. Really fantastic looking fighter. As I say, there's loads of fighters which you're going to see in future episodes, of course. But this one, definitely one of my top 5 in the Neo Geo collection so far. So, well, happy to have that one. And that is, of course, Ninja Masters. So, there we have it. Another 5 titles added to the Neo Geo collection. And more next time. But now, let's move on to something completely different and add another little item to my Neo Geo collection. So, it's that part of the episode where I show something to do with Neo Geo, whether it be a poster, whether it be a sign, something to do with Neo Geo or SNK, but not necessarily a game. Now, this time, it's going to be a figure. Now, I've been doing some research about a figure of this certain character, and it is my all-time favourite fighting character ever. And I've come across 2 figures, one that I've now got, and one which I'm definitely going to get, but it won't be out till the end of next year, and it is amazing. But let's look at this figure which I bought, and I'm really happy with this. Hopefully it's going to be as good as it looks on the pictures. But I have bought myself a Mai Shiranui very cool ties figure. This is a 1/6 scale. Yes, she is my ultimate fighting character of all time. I did have a figure of her like a couple of years ago, but it weren't that great, and I really wanted something extra special. And this is what I've come up with. Now, the other one that I want is a lot larger, and it's going to be out at the end of next year, so I've got a while to wait, so I can put a deposit on that and pay for that over time. But this one, I'm well happy to have. As I say, I love the 1/6 scale figures, as you can see, because I got the Back to the Future ones. But I wanted a Mai Shiranui character in 1/6 scale, and this is, as far as I know, is the best one so far. So I love the statues, but I'm more into the actual figures themselves, the 1/6 scale figures. So this is one take job. Let's crack this open, see what we got. Now I've got a little stand on my wall over there. I'll have to remove Boba Fett off, and I'll stick her on there for the time being to show you once she's set up. But eventually she will probably be going on this wall here, over there, so you can see her in full view. But we'll get to that because I've got a bit of decorating to do in this room and a bit of restructuring, but we'll come to that in another video. But anyway, there we have her, and she is looking particularly amazing and very detailed. So let's crack this figure open and see what we've got. So I've got the trusty pink knife, and we'll just take it from the top. I'm not too concerned about the outer packaging, because at the end of the day, it's what's inside that counts. So I think this is a slip cover on it, so I should be able to just take the slip cover out. In fact, I'm just going to completely take that off. No need for that, is that? Get rid of that. And there is the figure. So let's, yep, it's oh, there we go. And it's a slip case, and there she is in her glory in there, and she's looking pretty cool. Hopefully she's okay and she's all intact. So I love the design, got all the flowers around her from the blossom trees, but detail, she's looking pretty cool. So let's crack her open. Let's see what we got. Let's pop this on the floor so we don't dent the box. I want to keep the box in as best condition as possible, because you never know, you're going to have to stick her away one day. So out she comes. Nice. Excuse me while I take her out of the packaging. So we've got a nice, there's the packaging. We've got a nice card of her there, and there she is all tucked away. So let's take off the top, and oh man, she's pretty amazing. Now the unfortunate thing about this, I think, do we have a stand? I don't think we have a stand. We might not need one for her, but there she is. Look at that. And I mean, this is like proper silicone, proper body. I'm not being a perv, touching her ass, but there you go. She's beautiful. It's like a wire frame with a silicone body, so it's easily like posable in any position that you want to pose her. But obviously, I'm just going to pose her in a standard pose, because I'm not too sure how these figures deteriorate over time, being like a silicone body. So I'll put her in a decent pose, but obviously it's something that's not going to really disturb her or ruin her body in any way over time. But as you can see, she's got a nice little bow on her back, and she's got one of the balls that dangle below her. Now obviously you can move that up, so you can make that smaller or bigger, regardless whatever you want to do. And now there is a hair piece that I've got to stick on there, but overall at the moment I'm pretty impressed with that. I'll have to, she's very stiff obviously, and she can move. I'm quite scared about moving her actually, but she does move quite well. I'm just amazed about the silicone body. It feels so real nice. But yeah, really liking this character. So let's check out the other pieces we get with her. So we have, I think this part goes on a braid at the top of a hair before a hairpiece goes on. So what we'll do that first. We've got a hairpiece in here to put our extension on, like so. Oh, dropping it everywhere. That's exactly what I need to do. So there's a hairpiece. So this apparently, because I've watched videos on this already, you pop that on there, and then you pop that in the top section like so. Sorry about the crude way I've done it, but let's turn that round. So there we have it. Now she has a hairpiece, and she's looking more like Mai, even better now. Nice detail on the face. I really do like the detail. And the body, well, the body's just amazing. Absolutely amazing. But loving it so far. So let's get rid of that. There you go. That is a proper like hair. Very nice, that is. Right, but anyway, there you go. So you've got the hairpiece on. You've got like another 2 sets of hands, which I'm going to change the hands because she's also got a fan. So we can have the fan, and the fan does open. Dropping it again. The fan does open like so. I'm assuming. Oh, there we go. Look at that. Amazing. Beautiful. So it's got a lovely little fan so she can hold. So I'll be posing her with the fan. If I can get it back together. So there's the fan. And as I say, she's got another couple of hands, 2 sets of hands, and I think basically they are holding hands so she can hold the fan. So I'll use the other 2 hands so she can hold the fan. Right, sorry about the cut there, but I had to do that because I was having an absolute nightmare with her hands, because once I took off her hands, I couldn't get her new ones back on. I literally had to use a hairdryer to soften the hands, then to pop them onto the ball joints onto her arms. But eventually, here we are, and here she is in her pose for the moment. So obviously, as you can see, she's got her arm lifted up, and then she's got a fan in her hand there. Now, she doesn't have a stand, unfortunately, but there's a bow dangling down. Her hair is really quite detailed. It's just like, it's not like real hair, it's just like sculpted hair. But she's got an amazing figure, I have to say. I love the silicone body. It's just amazing. I've never had a silicone body character before, but definitely worth the price. Shame there wasn't a stand, so I'm just gonna have to try and build, or have somebody probably 3D print me a stand with a name on. That'd be great. I'd probably love to have that done, and then I could stick her on a stand. But overall, you know, she weren't cheap. She's a couple of £100, yeah. But I love Mai as a character anyway. She's an amazing fighting character, an amazing female fighter, without a doubt my favourite female fighter of all time. From my favourite games of all time, which are King of the Fighters. But she's taken many forms in different costumes, but this is by far her most iconic, of course, from the King of the Fighters series. But well happy with that. So what I'll do is I'll stick her up on the little section up there on the stand, pose her off, and then we'll call it a close with this. But another lovely little trinket. I will repose her eventually, once I get the hang of, like, you know, twisting her body in the right directions without actually feeling that I'm going to break her. And she'll have a new pose eventually, but hopefully I can get a stand for her as well. That'd be great. But there you go. There's Mai Shiranui from King of the Fighters series. And it's the first 1/6 scale figure I've got. I will have another one coming at the end of next year, which is much, much bigger and more detailed. But we'll get to that in another video next year, believe it or not. So there you go. I'll go and pose her now up there on the little stand that I've got on the wall, and then we'll have a look at that and we'll call it a close. okay for the time being. I found a little stand I can stand her on. It's not the greatest pose in the world, but it'll do for the time being. She's out of the box. And I have got like a leaflet in the box, and it describes how to pose her correctly without damaging the silicone and all that. But at the moment, I'm really happy with her. She's a very, very good figure. And I've always wanted a Mai figure, a proper one, and this is probably the best one I've got now at the moment. But next year's one is going to be a very different story, much, much bigger, more detailed, but we'll get into that next year. But well happy with that. So there we have it. There's my new addition to the Neo Geo collection. It will be going in a different place eventually, but very happy with her. And that's Mai Shiranui, my 1/6 scale silicone bodied figure. Very, very nice. Very happy with that. So there we have it. Another 5 Neo Geo CD games shown, and another nice piece to the Neo Geo collection, which is the Mai Shiranui figure. Really love her. As I say, I've really got to pose her properly, put her in the right place in the room, but that will come in time. But very, very happy with that. I'm looking forward to getting the next figure of her, which is going to be a lot bigger. Going to be interesting to see where I'm going to stick that one, because she's a lot bigger. But that's next year. Let's think about that. It's 12 months away. But anyway, well happy. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Man vs Neo Geo. The next episode will be sooner than later, I promise. So until next time, I am CyberSnake7. Keep playing, and as always, keep watching. All the best. キングも侍も玲子に負けた。このままでもドクネオジオ CD こうしてこっち早く。そう係長上手。闇に滅せよ。おやじ玲子ガラオバピンクも侍もソフト続々ネオジオ CD SNK